Chapter 6, April 1st, 6 p.m. I found myself standing in front of the miniature wooden shrine, looking down at the cracked stone house within as green sleeves blared out from the loudspeaker behind me. I took a step back to look up at the resplendent cherry blossom tree above and the darkening sky behind it. Nearby were a few pieces of rusty old playground equipment. There was no doubt about it. I was back in an abandoned park again, right where this all began. Okay, why is my voice already so raspy? Choking on milk. Horrible start. Hydrate redeem? No. Oh my god. Does milk not help? Let me drink water. Maybe try these? Wonder what's wrong with you? What happened? I think you talked about League too much and now your mind is corrupted. I reached for my cell phone and checked the date. Sunday, April 1st, 6 p.m. I'd made it all the way back to the day I first arrived in Sotoshima. The same day that Akito lost his life. After 5 long and confusing days, I get to see how the rest of April 1st played out. No. I knew exactly what I needed to do next. I'd head over to the Asuka Tavern, stop Akito from drinking by any means necessary, and that would be that. It shouldn't be difficult at all, and I had plenty of time to get over there. However, I couldn't get what Hayase had told me right before the rollback out of my mind. It kept gnawing at my chest like a sharp fish bone caught in my throat. I heard he's been physically abusing his little sister Akari. If this was in any way true, it would totally destroy any respect I ever had for Akito. But at the end of the day, it was only a rumor. I couldn't imagine the same guy who'd stood up for me to those bullies way back when beating his own sister, no matter how far he might have fallen. Wait. I could not imagine the same guy who'd stood up for me to those bullies way back when beating his own sister. Wait, why am I so confused with this sentence? I know what it means though. Anyways, I didn't even want to consider that possibility. For the time being though, my objective hadn't changed. I needed to focus on preventing Akito's death. I could look into the veracity of those rumors after that. Please tell me I'm right. I ran through the empty abandoned streets toward the Asuka Tavern. And it should be calm between when and between. Back when being his... Wait, between when and between? When and between... Oh, I can't even find between. Way back when is 130. Yeah, way back when. Oh, beating. Way back when. Beating his own sister, no matter how far. I just feel like way back when he was beating his own sister would be much better, or way back what Kwama was beating his own sister. I don't know. I feel like there needs to be a was there or something. Where were we? I was aware he wouldn't arrive at the bar until 9 o'clock. Which was 3 hours from now. When is when he's... yeah. But you're talking about how the dude back then was beating his own sister this way he couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine the same guy was beating his own sister, like... That's what I figured. It needs to be a was, but... Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm just bad at English. Yeah, I still felt the need to rush over there for some reason. It only took me about 20 minutes to reach my destination. I found myself an inconspicuous stakeout spot a little further down the other side of the street, where I could keep an eye on the entrance to the bar without alerting or arousing suspicion from the other customers. Now all I needed to do was wait for him to arrive. But as it was only about 6:30 now, I'd be stuck waiting for another 2.5 hours. I leaned my back up against a nearby telephone pole and settled in for the long haul. Right then, I felt my cell phone vibrating in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw that was my grandmother calling me, so I answered the phone. Hello? At what point does Akari call Akito today? I mean, not Akito. Akari called Kanai today. Sweetheart, where have you run off to? It's almost dinner time. Please come home. Right. This was the day I'd storm out of the house to cool my head. Sorry, Grandma. I'm a little busy right now. Might not be home until pretty late. Busy doing what? And how late are we talking? I wasn't sure what to tell her. I obviously didn't want to go home now and risk not being able to come back here later. But I also had no idea when I would be finished with my business here. So I decided to just be honest with her. Sorry, I don't know yet. I promise I'll call you as soon as I have a better idea of when I'll be home. Like I said, though, it'll probably be pretty late. You're not still upset at Eddie, are you? She asked, reproachfully. No, Grandma, it has nothing to do with that. Well, alright. And don't worry about saving leftovers for me either. Now I'll figure something else out. Okay, but do try to be home as soon as possible, dear. I can tell that Eddie's quite worried about you. Even if she'd never admit to it. Heh, you don't say. Anyway, don't keep us waiting too long. Talk to you soon. My grandmother said, then hung up the phone. I randomly recalled that she had been the one who originally told me I'd stay at a friend's house on the night of April 1st. Yet here I was, decidedly not at a friend's house. And I didn't see that changing unless something very bizarre and drastic happened. Like... Oh wait, just cracking my fingers first. Like, Akane calling you? Akadi. Oh my gosh, I'm getting all the names mixed up. It was one of the few things that still puzzled me. But no matter. As of right now, the plan was to get this over with, so I could sleep in my own bed tonight. It didn't matter where I might have stayed last time, because this time, I was going to change the future. It's going to be the same, isn't it? Time passed. The skies overhead slowly turned from hot scarlet to a deep, cold navy blue out of nowhere. Man, it's freezing out here, I thought to myself as I rubbed my shoulders for warmth. It was already a little past 9, but Akito was still nowhere to be seen. I even went up and took a look inside the bar a minute ago, just in case I somehow missed him, but he wasn't there. The owner of the bar had said he only remembered that it was around 9 o'clock. So it wasn't that strange to think Akito hadn't arrived yet, but it made me feel anxious all the same. Where could he be right now and what was he doing? It would be a lot easier if I just knew his phone number and could give him a call. Hang on, I could get his number from Akari, couldn't I? Oh, that's what happened. I felt extremely dumb. Why hadn't I thought of this sooner? I immediately whipped out my phone and dialed her number. 3 rings later, she picked up. Hey, Akari, listen, Kanai-kun, you've gotta help me. I was gonna say it in my Mickey Mouse voice, but I stopped myself. Hey, who said you could answer that? Give it here. The call was disconnected from the other side. The hell was that? All of a sudden, I got a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. It was Akari that answered the phone. That much I knew for sure. But who was that other person yelling at her? They sounded further away, so I couldn't quite make out their voice. A cold sweat ran down my temples. Something bad was about to happen. She wouldn't have answered the phone begging for my help otherwise. I tried redialing just in case, but to no avail. I have to go. Akari needs my help. I took off running. My destination? Akari's apartment complex. I didn't know for sure if that was where she would be, but it seemed the most likely place. If she wasn't there, I'd have to go try somewhere else. I sprinted as fast as I could down the roadway, tripping due to the lack of streetlights on more than one occasion, and reached the apartment complex in record time. I heaved and hummed as I scurried up the stairs and rang the doorbell. No answer. I knocked loudly on the door. Still nothing. Finally, I tried twisting the knob as a last resort, and the door shocked me by swinging right open. I called inside to ask if anyone was home, then let myself in regardless. This was a potential emergency situation. I didn't have time for proper etiquette. I walked down the main hallway and through an open door into the living room. There, in the middle of the floor, was a young girl curled up in a fetal position. "Akati, are you alright?" I asked, rushing to her side. I knelt down beside her and put my hand gently on her back to try to help her sit up. The moment my finger touched her, she shot upright and slapped my hand away. "Stop it," she cried. "Don't you dare touch..." Our eyes locked, and she froze in place. Her jaws hang wide open, then, slowly, her expression began to twist into one of grief and despair. Her eyes began to water, and then tears came flooding out like tiny waterfalls. I can't LARP this. Why? Wah. She wailed loudly, slamming her face into my chest. This time, I was the one who froze in place. I only missed a beat before realizing what I had to do. I reached my arms around her and gently rubbed her back, just as my grandmother always did to comfort me when I was little. After cradling her there like that for a time, her sobbing eventually subsided, and she pulled her face away from my chest. Long threads of snot stretched like spiderwebs from her nostrils to my shirt. I reached around and grabbed a tissue box from the coffee table and held it out to her. She took one without a word and blew her nose. "Feeling a little better now?" I said. I asked. She mumbled in a nasally voice. It was hard to take that as a yes or a no. She was still sitting with her shoulders slouched, looking dejectedly down at the floor. What in the world happened to her? I couldn't imagine her breaking down and straight up bawling like that, unless it was something pretty damn terrible. Is bawling? Is pronounced the same way as bawling, right? Like B-A-L-L? So every time I read someone crying or bawling, I just imagine someone B-A-L-L bawling, like hyped or like popping off. He's bawling, dude. So I always laugh. It's the same thing with the cheeks comment. I always laugh when I read bawling. Straight up bawling. Okay, I'm sorry. I briefly looked her over, but didn't see she's crying while but didn't see any signs of a major shrug or anything. No ripped clothes or visible injuries, at least. "You're not hurt at all, are you?" I asked, and she just shook her head. So I asked my next question. What happened here? The moment I asked that question, the tears started welling up again. Her face scrunched up, and they started streaming down from the corners of her eyes. He took my, she said, sniffling inconsolably between every other word. She was rapidly becoming harder and harder to understand. I decided the explanation could wait for now. "Alright, we can talk about it later," I said, rubbing her back to comfort her again. You're okay now." As I continued trying to console her, I glanced up at the clock on the wall. It was 10 p.m., which meant Akito had been out drinking for nearly an hour now, and something told me that demanding he stop drinking over the phone would not cut it at this point. Now that he was already intoxicated, I need to go back over there and stop him in person. I still had plenty of time, of course, so I could theoretically stay here with Akati a little longer. But Akito's life was on the line. I didn't want to take any chances. "Hey, Akati, not to be a jerk, but there's somewhere I gotta be in a little bit." He's still coping? To be fair though, no matter how bad of a person he is, like there's still like people think, you know, people don't deserve death, you know. You could also argue he needs to pay for what he's done in the past. He needs to repent, or like repent in some shape and form, and you know, just one day being passed out drunk and passing away being drunk is too easy on them, you know. You know. Wait, don't go, she pleaded. That's okay. I'll come right back, I promise. No, I don't want you to leave. Having her beg me not to go with a teary-eyed plea tied my heart in knots. On second thought, I couldn't do it. I couldn't just leave her here. You were so sick. Alright. Then you can come with me, I said. Oh god. Standing up, Akari gradually rose to her feet as well, still grabbing me by the arm as we began to make our way across the living room. Wait, where are you taking me, she asked. To the bar, I replied, stepping out into the hall. That's where Akito is. Akari stopped dead in her tracks, still tugging firmly on my coat sleeve. Why do we have to go there? She asked with bleary eyes. Bleary eyes? Because otherwise, Akito might die tonight. If I don't go over there and get him to stop drinking, that is. How could you even know that? I'll explain on the way there. Come on, let's go. No, I want you to tell me right here. But we're running out of time. Please, Kanai-kun. Akari stubbornly refused to move from that spot. Based on a glint of steadfast determination, I could see it in her unclouded eyes. It was safe to say she wouldn't budge until she got her... Okay, I can't use my right hand. Her answers. I understood, waiting an explanation after I just told her that her brother was going to die. Or wanting an explanation. But did she need to be this adamant? I'll wake up and see. I mean, yeah, he should be connecting the dots should have been connected long ago. But to be fair, you know, give him some, you know, cut him some slack. He needs to, or he's been going back in time, time traveling, experiencing time backwards. Like, it's tough on him. There was no time to think about it any longer, though. The only way I'd get her to come with me was by explaining myself. Alright, by warning you in advance, this is going to get pretty convoluted, I prefaced. I don't mind, Akari nodded, then let go of my arm. Okay, so basically, I'm from the future. I told her all about the rollback phenomenon in as much detail as I could. So, do you understand now? I asked. How am I supposed to believe any of that? Akari groaned, holding her head in her hands as if she had a migraine. I couldn't really blame her. I remembered having a tough time digesting her explanation of how the rollback worked at first. It wasn't until I experienced the phenomenon for myself that I started believing all the things she was telling me. How was I supposed to explain all this in a way that would make Akari believe me, if she would never experience the phenomenon herself? Maybe by making some sort of prediction about the future? The only major event I had to predict was Akito's death, and that was one I was trying to prevent. I watched a little bit of TV and seen a little bit of news on my phone over the past few days, but I couldn't remember anything substantial enough to leave an impact. I checked the time again. It was now 10:30 p.m. We needed to get going. Come on, let's just go, I said. I can tell you more on the way there. Maybe then you'll start to believe me. But, she protested, gripping the sleeves of her oversized sweater as she hung her head. It didn't seem like I'd convince her anytime soon. I didn't have much of a choice. I had to drag her along with me, as boorish as that was. I reached out a hand to grab hers, but this clearly startled her, as she reflexively backed away and tripped over the slight ridge in the doorway, where the floor height rose. She lost her balance and fell backwards onto her butt. Ow, ow. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Are you alright? I panicked, kneeling down beside her as she groaned in pain. God, that was really stupid of me. I shouldn't have just reached out like that without saying something first. No, it's fine, she said, rubbing her lower back as she pushed herself back up to her feet. She looked a little embarrassed. Are you sure? You didn't land on your bad hip, did you? My bad hip, she asked, puzzled. Yeah. You injured your lower back recently, didn't you? You mentioned it the other day. Said it still hurts from time to time. Wait, when was this? She blanked. He's... Oh wait, I need to allow that. How does he keep making these mistakes? I mean, no. Again, give him some slack. I would also be jaded if I, experiencing time backwards is the same mistake. So yeah, but like, I'm just saying that if I was in his shoes, it would be hard to adapt, It's easier for us because we're reading. Leave Pookie alone, Wonder. Skill issue? Honestly, it was a skill issue. Wait, when was this? She blinked, her confusion now turning to genuine surprise. The night we broke into Sotoshima High. But we never did that. Sure we did. It was your idea. Okay, no, please, just explain it. You showed me how to break in through the janky window in the girls' bathroom and everything. Just gotta give it a little elbow grease and the lock pops right open. Whoa. How do you know about that? That's something only me and a few of the other girls at school should know how to do. Like I said, okay, never mind, you're right. He is dumb. He would just say, "Cause I'm from the future." But he is stalling so hard. Like I said, I learned from a pro. Namely, your future self. Okay, never mind, there we go. Akali thought this over with eyes downcast. From what I could tell, she still had her doubts. But she was getting just that little bit closer to believing me. Maybe now she would be more willing to listen to what I had to say about Akito. Listen, Akari. Like I was trying to tell you before, I've come back here from a few days in the future. I know what's going to happen over the next few days and when. I explained. She looked back at me and, after a long pause, gave a little nod. So I continued. That's why I need you to believe me when I tell you that sometime tonight, between midnight and 2 a.m., Akito's going to die of acute alcohol poisoning. Unless I run over to the bar right now and stop him, that is. So, you're trying to save my brother's life? You got it. That Akito was in grave danger seemed to resonate with her at last, as her expression changed to one of befuddled horror. Her lips trembled as though she desperately wished to say something but couldn't bring herself to force the words through. Anyways, sorry, but I really can't afford to dawdle much longer. Do you still want to come with me or not? Or no? Yeah, I'll go, she answered meekly. Cool, let's get going, then. We walked out of Akai's apartment and made our way down the stairs. Yikes, yeah. Hey, I'm saying death is never the answer. Murder, death, if you can prevent it. Okay, I mean, that depends how bad they are. I mean, Akito's pretty beyond saving, but still. We stole, braving the frigid night air, we stole away through the empty streets of the sleepy town. I led the way with Akari following close behind. Neither of us said a word as we rushed across the island to our destination. The goal I worked toward over these past few days was almost within reach. As soon as we reached the bar, I'd waltz right in there and drag Akito out myself if I had to. If he tried to resist or was already showing signs of alcohol poisoning, I could just call the police or an ambulance. As long as I could get there and confront him, I should be able to change the future and prevent his death from ever happening. It had been a hell of a week, but it would soon be coming to an end. There were a few things about this whole rollback process I was still a little hazy on, but they probably weren't much dwelling on at this point. As long as I could save Akito, that was all that. You call an ambulance now? Yeah, he could and just be really ballsy about it. I felt an urgent tug on my sleeve. Akari was grabbing me by the arm. I stopped walking and turned to face her. We were standing right beneath one of the few streetlights on the road, so I could see Akari's face perfectly. Then I gasped. She was looking pensively down at the sidewalk with tears streaming down her cheeks. "I can't do it," she sobbed, squeezing my arm so hard that I felt her nails dig into my skin through my coat. "I'm sorry, Kanai-kun, I just can't." What do you mean you can't? Can't do what?" I asked, desperate. I had no idea why she had stopped me or why she was crying, which made me start to freak out a little bit. She looked up at me and the tears in her eyes made a heart-rending plea. "Do we really have to save my brother?" It took a few minutes for the implication of her words to sink in. She's cooking. You could have given me a million guesses as to what was going to come out of her mouth. Okay, no, you should have expected this. And I never would have gotten anywhere close. No. And this is normal reaction from Kanai. We were able to read Akari's past, so we are a bit biased. My mouth hung open in disbelief as I tried and failed to twist my tongue to syllables. Eventually, I started feeling a little bit lightheaded. I could no longer say for sure whether or not my feet were still touching the ground. What are you talking about?" I sputtered. "Of course we do, don't we?" But she sulked. Sulked, gripping the collar area of her sweater with her free hand. She was behaving almost like a pouting child. "What's gotten into you, Akari? This is your only brother we're talking about." "I know, but I just can't do it. I don't want to save him, Kanai-kun. I don't even want to be in the same room as him ever again." I mean, fair enough, but this is life or death here. If we don't do something, he's literally going to die. Don't you get that? "I do, but I don't know." Akari kept on shaking her head, refusing to make eye contact with me. She looked fragile, even paranoid, like she was convinced something or someone was out to get her, and she was begging me to rescue her from her peril. From my perspective, I couldn't understand what she was so afraid of. Akari hadn't yet expressed her raw emotion in a coherent enough manner for me to wrap my head around. "Why don't you want to save Akito?" I asked. "I mean, because he's a horrible person." "How so?" "He hits me and kicks me and stuff." MC's in denial. To be fair, wait, why am I defending the main character so much? I think I just like playing devil's advocate too much. You know what? I'll stop. "What?" I gasped, praying that I had simply misheard her. "He actually beats you?" "Yeah," she nodded, then began to elaborate, slowly, in a stammering voice. She told me all about how he was constantly throwing things at her, pulling her hair, and even fractured a bone in her hip. How he would use her as a personal golfer, day in and day out. Golfer! How he stole all of the money she'd been saving up while working her butt off at her part-time job. How he even suggested she get a job at a strip club to earn it back. I forgot about that. With every word that came out of Akari's mouth, my blood boiled hotter with contempt for Akito, and my empathy for Akari grew deeper. These two sharply distressing emotions overlapped like a massive pair of scissors, snipping away at my heartstrings. Akari was making a cry for help, and as much as I wanted to just cover my ears and block out the sound, I could never do that to her. The more she explained what had been going on, the more a third emotion began to build up inside of me. Regret. Regret for 2 years ago when I packed up my bags and left Akari alone here in Sotoshima without second thought. Why hadn't I realized sooner that something had to be wrong? Why had I never once called to check up on her? I slammed my inner conscience with interrogative questions like these. Is it interrogative or interrogative? It was interrogative, right? Interrogative questions like these. But it didn't have any good excuses. If I had simply stayed by Akari's side, I could have been around for her when... Yes, okay, Wander, you're being a bit too murderous right now. So now do you see Akari cut in, interrupting my train of thought. Please, Kanai-kun, can we just hold off on saving my brother and let the universe decide? Oh, that's crazy. Can we just let natural selection do its thing? wonder what's the point of... What kind of, like, divine explanation goes into why Kanai is experiencing this phenomenon of going back in time? You're actually right. Yeah, because there's the word prerogative, right? So I assume prerogative and then interrogative. I wonder. What can I say? I'm smart. And if you ask me what prerogative means, I don't even know. I don't even know why I know that word. I don't even know what it means. I had no comeback for that. After coming all this way, I was now starting to have misgivings at the very last minute. Should I save Akito, or should I not? When the rollback first began, there was no doubt in my mind what the answer to that question should be. But back then, I didn't know then about... I'm sorry, I was thinking of like the worst. Let's just say I envisioned in my mind where someone goes back in time to save someone, but then it's told that the person is the worst person in the world. Like the worst, most heinous criminal in history. But you didn't know that, even though it's basically common knowledge. And I was just imagining that random scenario and made me laugh. Okay, Wander, you know... Wait, no, I need to stop defending MC. Wait, I'm trolling. Okay, I need to stop. Whew. All of the horrible, sickening things, lest we forget. Akari was my best friend here, not Akito. And she herself was essentially telling me that her brother deserved to die. Was my best friend? I guess best friend, like, in school back then. And yet, surely, there was still room in Akito's heart for change if we gave him a chance at a second life. That's what I'm saying. Wasn't there? If we let him die, he'd never have an opportunity to redeem himself. There were an infinite number of ways his life could change from this point on. So true. Both for the better and for the worse. And to let him die now would mean extinguishing each and every one of those possibilities. Was I really prepared to be his judge, jury, and executioner here? I couldn't say. So what was I to do? My choice were to act against my best friend's wishes as an abuse victim, or let a deeply flawed man die. At that precise moment, I admit that the scales weren't tipping in one direction or the other. I was at a loss, and the pressure of the impending decision was starting to stress me out. He's not even Yes, but he has a choice, you know, Wonder? It's basically... It kinda is, you know, in a way. I'm still defending the bozo. Then, out of nowhere, an old memory floated up to the surface of my mind. It was of that field trip in 5th grade, the one Akari and I had reminisced about after breaking into the school the other night. A memory of Akari falling face first into the mud, and me intentionally falling in right after her. At the time, my thought process was that when you find yourself neck deep in the mud, struck in a crappy situation you can't break free from, your real friends are the ones who will dive right in and muddy themselves in solidarity to help you out of it. Akito's done. What about now? And as a time loop? Wait, you're so sick. Was I really willing to bear this mud? This stain on my conscience? And share it with her for the rest of my life? Alright, I whispered with a tiny sigh. Nodding to myself, I come to my decision. We will hold off on saving Akito then. You're not holding off. We will let him die, is what we're trying to say. Cheer. Hey, there's still 60 more pages. Anything can happen. The moment I said these words, Akari let go of my arm and wobbled, as though feeling faint. I grabbed her by the shoulders and supported her back, afraid that she might pass out. You alright? I asked. Sorry, I guess I'm just feeling a little dizzy, she said. Her pallor didn't look good. She looked so exhausted that she might fall to her knees at any moment. Let's get you home. We walked right back the way we came. away from the bar where Akito was drinking. Neither of us said a word. I think we both needed some time to process the gravity of the decision we just made together. We walked in silence the whole way home while I supported her back. We made it back to Akari's apartment after what felt like forever. She unlocked the door and we both stepped inside. She didn't seem to have the strength even to walk on her own. Right as I thought about finding a place to lay her down, she pointed weakly to a room on the left side of the hallway. Per her instructions, I opened the door and helped her inside. I flicked the light switch on, and the room flashed to life. It was a fairly cramped space, only about 8 square meters, give or take, but there was a faintly sweet fragrance hanging in the air. I assumed this must be Akari's bedroom. I'd never actually been inside it before. Across from the door was a bed in a simple wooden frame, and when I glanced to my right, I saw her Sodashima High uniform hanging on the wall. I took a quick look around the room to see a bookshelf filled mostly with manga volumes, a plastic chest of drawers, and an old, weathered writing desk piled high with schoolwork and textbooks. Each book had zillions of colorful, adhesive page markers sticking out from cover to cover. Please don't judge me, I know it's a mess, Akari whined. Oh, well, no, sorry. I wasn't trying to be rude, I apologize. I quit looking around and helped her totter over to the bed to lie down flat, then pulled a comforter up all the way to her neck and tucked her in. Wonder. Don't get ahead of yourself. You should try to get some rest for tonight, I told her. We can talk more tomorrow. Okay, she nodded weakly. I figured it'd be a good idea to stick around, at least until she fell asleep. I turned off the lights, turned on the nightlight, and sat on the floor with my back against the side of her bed. Akari reached a hand out from under the covers and tapped my shoulder, so I turned around. Could you hold my hand? She asked timidly, reaching it down to me. I was caught off guard by this at first, but was happy to oblige. Man! Yeah, must be nice having a nice romantic moment. Sure, no problem. I turned around so that I could face the bed and interlocked her fingers with mine. Akari squeezed tight. Her hand was smaller than my own, and every bit as soft, warm, and delicate as it had been when we were kids. So delicate. I was afraid to squeeze too hard in case I crushed it. I remained there like that, her hand in mine, as the early hours of the night passed quietly beneath our feet. Looking at Akari with her eyes closed made me feel pretty sleepy myself, still holding tight. I pressed my forehead up against the corner of her bed frame and closed my eyes. The floor was a little too cold for comfort, but I'd probably fall asleep like this eventually. Wait, I remembered that I was supposed to call my grandmother back as soon as I figured out what time I expected to be home. Hang on, Akari. I've got to make a quick phone call, I said, standing up and letting go of her hand. Who do you need to call? She asked tentatively. She sat upright in her bed. Just my grandma, don't worry. Oh, alright. I'll come right back, okay? Will do. Man. It is so mushy. It's so, I feel bad, okay? Seeing someone so vulnerable. I stepped out of the bedroom and pulled out my phone. It was already 11 o'clock. I called home at once, fully expecting my grandmother to be pissed. Lo and behold, she was. As soon as I identified myself, she began a magnificent rant about how irresponsible I was and how worried I made her. She wasn't letting me get a word in edgewise, and I couldn't see her stopping anytime soon. So I blurted out that I was planning to stay the night at a friend's house and hung up the phone, oh lord. A moment later, I realized what I'd done. The implications hit me so hard that I lost my balance and hit my back against the wall. Of course. So that means him in the past also. You know, I'm not thinking about the time warp things, but just that him in the past also let him die. Akito die. I felt the biggest lingering question, the one that remained frozen in my mind this entire time. began to melt away, draining from my every pore like thawing snow. I just self-fulfilled my own prophecy. This was the friend's house I stayed on April 1st, and in a few hours, Akito was going to die all over again. Then tomorrow, I'd find a body and call it in. I understood now why Akari refused to tell me what happened on the night of April 1st. She couldn't tell me that she and I had willfully allowed Akito to die. Not while I was still determined to save his life. The past and future connected anew. Everything had played out exactly as destiny had ordained. In the end, I was powerless to change Akito's fate. No, I deliberately chose not to. Without warning, the door to Akari's bedroom creaked open, the tiniest bit. I looked over and saw her peeking through the crack where we made eye contact. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Just, you were taking a while. I got a little worried," she muttered. "Oh, my bad. Yeah, I just got off the phone. Told her I'd be staying here tonight." "Wait, you're spending the night?" "Right. Okay, that makes sense. Duh." Attack on Titan. Wait till later. I don't plan on reading it, to be fair, so. But for spoilers, sure. I didn't know that was a thing. I think I did vaguely know that was a thing in Attack on Titan because I read it somewhere. She said it as though it took her a moment to digest the idea, but I couldn't check her expression while the lights were still off. I walked back into the room, and we both returned to our previous seating and sleeping positions. My nose chose that exact moment to start to itch, and I let out a sneeze. I rubbed my nose. "Are you cold?" Don't. I swear, if they start sharing the same blanket, I'm gonna go crazy. Akari asked. "Just a little. Mind if I turn the heater on?" "I mean, you could, but I've got a better idea." "This sly fox," she declared, then scooched herself over to the far end of the mattress to make some space up on the bed. "Why don't you just come up here? Plenty of room under the covers." Wonder. Huh? Wait, but do you really think that's a good idea? "Sure, why not? I trust you. Now, come on," she insisted, patting the empty space on the sheets a few times as an invitation to join her. This is unholy. This is full of sin. They're not even going out. I didn't want her to take my hesitance the wrong way, so I nodded and crept under the covers beside her. But as soon as I felt her lingering body heat in the sheets beneath me, my heart rate shot through the roof. She's traumatized. Okay, you're right. You're right. But we shouldn't take advantage of her to make a move, you know? I guess we aren't. "Aren't you still hanging over the edge a little bit?" she asked. "Here, come closer." "No, okay," I said. I wriggled my body toward the middle of the bed as instructed. Now Akai's face was mere inches from my own, and close enough for me to make out each individual eyelash. Her big, dark irises were staring directly into mine. She's asking, "Hey, Kanai-kun, can I tell you something?" "Yeah." "What is it?" "I don't want to sound weird, but I've been thinking a lot about trying to get into the same college as you, and moving to Tokyo after I graduate. I've been working really, really hard for it too. You have no idea how much I've missed you these past couple of years." "Wait, is that what you're saving up all that money for?" "Mm-hmm," she nodded bashfully. She said it. Honestly, this is pretty weird, you know? Having no contact and suddenly, you know, making the goal to save so much money to... I'm just saying it's pretty yandere behavior. Yandere vibes. "Gotcha, well, I'm sorry if I made you feel like that was the only way. If I'd known that's how you felt, I would have totally stayed back here with you." No, sorry, that wasn't supposed to sound like a guilt trip. Besides, everything's gonna be okay now," she assured me, smiling softly from the other side of the pillow. "Let's just keep this whole thing our little secret and forget all about it, okay?" No, should I drop a little bit of frames there, huh? Then she brought her right hand between our faces and lifted her pinky finger. "Promise me?" she asked. "Yeah, I promise. I interlocked my pinky with hers. When we finally let go, she let out a cute little satisfied chuckle, followed by a long purr of contentment. Kanai-kun? What's up? Nothing, just... Thanks, she said, closing her eyes. When she reopened them, a single, pearly teardrop rolled out down her temple. Now, don't ever leave me like that again, you hear me? I mean, we're going back, and like, after spring break ends, we're going back to Tokyo, so... we are leaving her again. Then she nuzzled in close, about as close to any Jew people could ever get, and pressed her forehead into my chest. When I looked down and saw her head there, tucked below my chin, I was struck by a strangely irresistible urge to run my fingers through her hair. So, oh my gosh. Oh, am I lagging? Oh shoot! Why am I lagging here? I'm gonna wait for a bit. Why does God be today of all days? Oh my gosh, my internet is horrible right now. Oh, video buffering? Should I keep reading? Like twice? Yeah, it's red on my end. No, it's good now, but I don't know for how long. Should be fine? Alright. I looked down and saw her head there, tucked below my chin. I was struck by a strangely irresistible urge to run my fingers through her hair, so I did. I ran them up the back of her scalp, then back down again. Over and over in a slow and methodical motion. She moaned, a little hesitant at first, but it wasn't long before she relaxed and let herself enjoy the massage-like sensation. Wait, I don't know if I feel comfortable reading this. I feel like I'm intruding. I kept tracing my fingers up and down in gentle line, as if to memorize the contours of her skull. Slowly but surely, Akali drifted off into a deep and restless sleep. Moments later, I stopped stroking her hair and closed my eyes as well. I just wanted to bask in this beautiful, perfect moment and forget the world. But somehow, sleep eluded me. Somewhere deep in my heart, I could hear a voice crying out. Another me, another facet of myself, was making a desperate appeal to my conscience. So you're really okay with this, huh? There's an interlude? What else? The last interlude, lasted until the present. Or got to the present already. We're staring at Mofu. It's just someone, sharing the covers with two opposite genders sharing the same bed, and they're just, caressing her hair until she falls asleep. Honestly, I just feel really lonely reading that. It's not fair. I'm just gonna stretch a bit and we'll get back to reading. And I'll probably take a little bit of a longer break when we get to the last chapter. Oh shit. Just pretend it's you. No, that's so Delulu. It's a Salulu. Yeah, get that out of here. Whew. Alright, let's get back to reading. Wait, where are we? What the heck? It was like heaven and hell both descended on me in the span of a single day. Hell came first, when I discovered that my brother had stolen the entirety of my savings. Oh, just from her perspective, that's nice. I honestly thought my life was over. My whole world went dark. For the first time in my life, I knew the true meaning of desolation and despair. Vibe from the... I'm reading the rest of the book off stream, so you have fun ordering the book if you want to know the ending wonder. That was the last straw. Where are we? I couldn't even find the willpower to cry, but then Kanai came along and rescued me. To be honest, I still didn't fully understand all the things he told me about this rollback phenomenon, but that wasn't the part that was important to me. What did matter to me was that he'd chosen me over my brother. That alone made me happier than I could ever convey in words. Thank you, Kanai. Thanks for hearing out my selfish wish, for making that promise with me. It really did mean the world to me. Okay, after all this last line feels really ominous. I don't like this. How many years had it been since he last ran his fingers through my hair like this? Back then, he would only give me... Well, wait, that's it. A playful tosso here and there. But his hands had grown large enough now that he could easily cradle my head. It felt so nice. I would have let him keep massaging the back of my head forever, if he wanted to. In fact, I wish this whole entire moment could last forever. If heaven truly did exist, I imagine it probably felt like this. Complete and utter bliss. A dark voice in the back of my mind told me that I would never forget the fact that I traded my brother's life in exchange for his happiness. Probably not for as long as I lived. And we're on the final chapter. And now I'm gonna take a longer break. Or maybe not. I didn't expect that to be so short. I'm just gonna drink a few sips here and there. Book's been great so far though. I'm enjoying it. Pretty neat though. Oh, I want to play Rivals of Ether. I keep thinking about it. But my fingers are not in good condition. Wait. You know what? I'm feeling Akito right now. I was an insane Rivals of Ether 2 player. Granted, I've only played for like a day. But now I have an injury that stops me from going pro. And now I'm gonna start drinking and associating myself with really bad people. This is my destiny. They need to take the schizo pills to get rid of those pesky voices in their heads. Honestly, I don't know how the book's gonna turn out. Cause I wouldn't be surprised if it's like the same thing as well as what was already preordained is, you know, it's just a loop. So Akito dies and everything's just gonna happen as it happened. You're watched what? If they actually go back and save Akito, I would be surprised, but I can't imagine they could do it in a way that would they do that in a way that would like be a satisfying ending? Huh, I don't know. Alright, that's good enough. Let's get back to reading. You sure? I can't imagine it either. Oh, that's pretty. All I could hear was the sound of Akadi's steady breathing. Meanwhile, I couldn't sleep a wink for multiple reasons. For one, I was in an unfamiliar bed. For two, Akadi was sleeping on my chest. But what kept me up more than anything was Akito's death. Yo, bars. It was like the image of his corpse was seared into the back of my eyelids. Every time I tried to close my eyes, I saw his body lying there in the empty lot. His skin white as a sheet, no trace of the boy who once took the mound at Koshien left inside those glassy eyeballs. This was the final resting place of the man who'd once given me the courage to stand up to bullies, the guy who led one puny island high school ball team all the way to nationals, then broken his shoulder and lost everything. The same man who in the final years of his short life had stooped so low that he was beating and stealing money from his own sister. They go, what? I didn't even know I added that. You're so sick. I didn't know whether we'd done the right thing or not anymore. I wondered if Akari already had second thoughts of her own or if she would regret it in the near future. Thanks to the rollback phenomenon, I already had memories of everything that would happen over the next 5 days up to 6 p.m. on April 6th, as though I was following a trail of breadcrumbs. I traced my memories back in search of any indication that Akadi came to regret this decision over the next few days. Tuesday, we're just time skipping, holy moly. Tuesday, we had our perfect little picnic at the abandoned park. Wednesday, oh no, he's just recounting. Wednesday, we broke into the school at night and shared a tender moment. Thursday, I thought I was going insane until I spoke to her at Kito's wake. And Friday, she explained the rollback to me beneath the cherry blossom tree. Dad remembered something else, something her future self told me that day, before the first rollback occurred. You know, I forgot about this. Can I want you to save my brother. I completely forgot about this, not gonna lie. I was like, yeah, that's pretty obvious, huh? Did she really mean that, or was she only saying it to play along with the charade? I couldn't say for sure, but I remembered her saying something else right after that. I trust your judgment, so please, take care of past me, okay? Me too. This was what made me think that Akari could be having second thoughts by that point. Like maybe she felt like we'd make the wrong decision. I explained why she said the rest was up to me. It explained why she said the rest was up to me, and that she would entrust everything to my judgment. I had to honor that trust by doing what I alone felt was right. I slowly sat myself up in bed, then looked down at my side where Akari was still sleeping peacefully like a baby. Forgive me, Akari, I whispered as I silently slipped out from under the covers. When I stood up, I noticed the alarm clock at her bedside read 1 a.m. I turned and tiptoed toward the door, twisted the knob, then took one last look over my shoulder at Akari before stepping out of the bedroom. Slipping on my shoes in the entryway, I left the apartment, hurried down the stairs, and ran off toward the empty lot at a full sprint. Chances were high that Akito would already be there, face down on the ground. Are we breaking the loop? Pause, champ. Forgive me, Akane. This is for your own good. I'm sorry. I apologized to her over and over as I ran through the streets. I knew I was yelling pointlessly into the ether, but I felt so bad for betraying her that I couldn't help it. Forgive me, Akane. I just can't do it. I can't stand idly by and let a man die. Akito was a bad person for sure, and I couldn't see myself ever forgiving him for how he'd hurt his sister. This just looking sage cried. You're so sick. I found him utterly detestable in his current state. That still didn't mean he deserved to die. So true, I couldn't sit back and watch a man with his whole life ahead of him pass away and justify it with some huge mistakes he made. I should never let my determination to save him waver. Then I wouldn't have to break any promises. I was an absolute dumbass. A gutless, wishy-washy coward who always took the easy way out. Things would never have turned out this way if not for me and my stupid choices. I was sorry that I had to do this to her, but I needed to save Akito. I needed to believe there was a way we would still find a happy ending in all this, one where nobody had to die. Wonder, please! I arrived at the empty lot and heaved my way through the tall grass in record time. It didn't take long for me to spot his silhouette lying face out on the ground. Akito! His face was already bleached with a death-like pallor, and I could tell that his fire was fading fast. I knelt down beside him and watched his chest. The movements were extremely faint, but he was still breathing. This is already big compared to tomorrow. I dialed 119 and frantically explained the situation to the operator. The paramedics from the island's fire department would arrive any minute, so all I had to do now was wait. My personal burden of responsibility now somewhat relieved. The exhaustion finally caught up with me, and I fell to my hands and knees on the ground. No, he's gonna live. I tried to stay focused on breathing in and then breathing out. Spurts of cold night air that burned my throat. When my breathing stabilized at last, I glanced over at Akito again, only to find his chest was no longer moving. Flustered, I put my hand up to his mouth. He stopped breathing altogether. You've got to be kidding me, I cried as I shook Akito's body. Hey, wake up. Don't go down with me now, goddammit. No response. I turned him over onto his back to administer CPR. Or at least whatever movements I remembered from how they taught us to do in gym class. I wasn't sure if I did all the steps correctly or anything. I began compressing his chest in steady beats and prayed for the best. Come on, live, damn it. Wake up and answer for what you've done. You can still turn your life around. I know you can, I swear. If you die right now, I'll beat the crap out of you. I swore at him as I kept pumping his chest until the small ambulance arrived, and two paramedics hopped out. One took over for me, while the other asked me a number of questions. Any relation to the victim, he inquired. Yeah, we're friends, I lied, thinking it would make things a lot simpler. Akito, sorry. My friend here was out drinking until about 2 hours ago. He only stopped breathing a few minutes before you got here. The paramedic looked me over, taking a moment to consider this answer. Okay, got it, he nodded. We'd like to ask you a few more questions about what happened. Mind riding along with us? Sure, no problem. Another one bites the dust. No, there's a lot more hope. In the past loop, that body got reported. The body got reported among us tomorrow on April 2nd. Oh, I guess that's today, technically, still. But, you know, we reported it early. And, yeah. I jumped in the ambulance after they loaded Akito up into it, and we sped off toward the harbor. No, you know when you do CPR. Oh no, we never actually learned CPR, or I didn't, so. The island medical clinic couldn't treat him at this time of night, so I had to take the entire ambulance onto an emergency transport vessel and cross over to the mainland. Oh, that's gonna take 5 years. Oh, I heard the staying alive part. I didn't know about the another one bites the dust though. Wait, that's sick. What the heck? I mean, that's sick in a weird way. Thankfully, they got him breathing again in transit using basic first aid procedures. He hadn't regained consciousness yet, but it looked like he was going to pull through. Well, Wander. Will you look at that? Once we made it to the hospital, Akito was quickly rolled into the emergency room. I had to tell the hospital staff all the same stuff I'd barely finished telling the paramedics. But then my duties as a friend of the victim were complete. I sat down on one of the couches in the lobby and tipped my head up toward the ceiling. You're still patient left? Yeah. I managed to prevent Akito's death, and that meant I changed both the past and the future for the better. Man, I'm beat. I felt a pain in the back of my sockets when I closed my eyes. A result of all the built-up fatigue, presumably. Too bad I couldn't rest yet. There were still things I needed to do. First and foremost, I had to get in touch with Akane. She was probably still asleep, so I decided that maybe shooting her a text would be the better play. I opened my phone's messaging app and scrolled down to her name, then froze. I couldn't bring myself to type something, or to type anything out. I had no clue how to best convey to her that I'd changed my mind and gone to save Akito's life after all. So my fingers sort of hovered in a useless limbo over the keyboard for a while. When I did manage to write something down, I deleted it, started over, and repeated the same process again and again. I spent about 2 hours in all sitting there in the lobby and drafting up different ways of saying the same thing. But in the end, I settled on a simple, "Hey, we need to talk. Let me know when you're awake." And sent it off before I had a chance to second guess myself again. Something told me this was one conversation we shouldn't have over text. You think a near-death experience would be a life-changing event, wouldn't you? But what if it wasn't? Well... we don't need to worry about that. Because for this story, it will be. I ended up napping in the hospital waiting room until about 6 a.m. Then staff wasn't going to let me hitch a ride back to the island on the ambulance or the emergency boat, so I had to walk to a nearby convenience store, ATM, and use my cell phone to withdraw some money, then head back to the port via taxi. It was kind of a pricey cab ride for an unemployed student like me, but it would have taken over an hour to get there on foot. That wasn't happening, considering how little energy I had left. When I got down to the port, I paid my fare and left the car. Thankfully, I arrived right as the Sotoshima ferry was pulling into the docks. I stood at the end of the dock and waited patiently, as all of the inbound passengers from the island disembarked. I noticed that Akai's mother was among them. She probably gotten a call from the hospital and was on her way there. She didn't seem to notice me since she rushed past the nearest taxi that was stopped on the shoulder of the road and got in. I only saw her from afar, but she looked flustered, and I had no idea of knowing how she might feel about Akito's recent personality changes. But at the end of the day, he was her son. What mother could keep stoic after hearing their child was in the hospital? Her taxi sped off around the corner as I turned and made my way over to the ticket booth. Shortly after I boarded the ferry, it departed back towards Sotoshima. I took a seat in the main passenger area and checked my phone. It was 6:30 and still no reply from Akane. She was either still asleep or deliberately not replying. Either way, it would probably be fastest to head straight over to her place as soon as I arrived in Sotoshima. I didn't know how to go about breaking the news, but I had to own up to breaking my promise with her one way or the other, or another. I mentally steeled myself for that as the ferry boat pulled into the harbor. I disembarked, then aimed for Akayo's apartment complex at a brisk pace through the cool early morning air. About 10 minutes later, I was standing at her doorstep, looking up at the Hoshina nameplate on the door, trying to muster up the courage to ring the doorbell. When I finally did, there was at least a solid minute's worth of silence, after which I finally heard footsteps within. Slowly, the door to the apartment opened, and Akane peeked out from the crack. Her hair was disheveled, and her bangs were all clumped together. There was no light in her eyes. It felt like looking at someone who lived for years as a total recluse. Recluse? Why can't I say that word? Recluse. Despite the fact that I saw her last night, this only exasperated the guilt already gnawing away at me. I could tell that I was likely to blame for how she looked. Akane, listen, You went and rescued him, right? She said casually, as though it was merely an offhand remark. My mom told me she got a call from the hospital. Figured it had to be her doing. Yeah, it was. I'm really sorry. That's fine. No need to apologize, I mean. It's not like you did anything wrong, right? No, but I still broke my promise to you. Oh, is that what you're worried about? Don't be. I'm the one who wasn't thinking straight, she said, chuckling derisively at herself. I mean, asking you to be complicit in my own brother's death? What am I? Psycho? I can hardly believe I said that. I must be more of a cold-hearted bitch than I thought. Man, saying the B word's kind of... Wonder... Okay, surely it's gonna end in a good way. There's only like 40 pages left. Her amused smirk. Actually, I'm gonna wait for a bit because someone in the house is awake right now. Ooh. How many pages? You know what? We read about 35 or almost 40 pages. We're actually pretty close. We might finish in 3 hours or a little over. You're interested? God dang it. I'll tell you what'll be a good ending for at least one person. Akito. You know, there's still pages left. I'm sure like it's gonna be a banger ending. Like they're gonna have a long talk and they're gonna come to terms with what they did. And they're gonna be happy that they save Akito at the end of the day. Imagine this. No, that's gonna be horrible. That's not what's gonna happen. Akito's gonna turn a new leaf and, you know, spend the rest of his life repenting. Alright. Let's get back to reading. Her amused smirk didn't waver. But then out of nowhere, fat teardrops began to spill out from the corners of her eyes. Akari, I cried, reaching out to her in desperation. But she slammed the door in my face. A moment later, I heard the clank of her locking the deadbolt. Sorry, I just want to be alone right now. I heard her whimper from inside the apartment. I pressed one ear up to the door and tried to reason with her. No, listen to me, Akari. I know you might not believe this right now, but in the future it was you who told me to... I stopped short. Say she did believe me. Knowing she would eventually regret her actions in the timeline where Akito had died was cold comfort. Besides, even that regret was a mere assumption on my part. I stood there, unable to even string together a sentence's worth of reassurance. That's exactly what's happening, wonder. While Akari wept softly on the other side of the door. Please, just go home, Kanai-kun, she begged. Wait, this is depressing now. How are they going to save this in 40 pages? I bit down hard on my lower lip. A single door stood between us, and yet it may as well have been an impenetrable concrete wall. Alright, I'll go. You better believe I'll be coming back, though. I'm gonna make this up to you one way or the other. I swear I'll never break another promise to you again. No, I waited. No reply came. Okay then. I'll talk to you later, I said. For now, I had no choice but to head home. I'm just laughing. Like, what if he just regrets it, and it turns out he goes back in time again, one last time, 48 hours back. And he's like, you know what, Akito, maybe he's better off gone anyways. And then the loop actually repeats itself. Anyways, I took a hot shower as soon as I got back to my grandmother's. House. The seething heat permeated my entire body. all the way to my frostbitten fingertips. I washed my hair and everything else, then stood under the hot water for a while until I was sufficiently warm to my core. And cause a keto shorter. There's no shot. That would be a huge time skip. That would be a huge reverse time skip. That is so funny. But wouldn't it be the opposite? Wouldn't he like not do that so that he wouldn't go off the deep end? That would be crazy. Until I was sufficiently warm to my core. Only then did I step out of the bathroom, put on some fresh clothes, and head down into the living room. I found Eddie there in her pajamas, watching TV on a floor cushion while munching on a piece of toast. I guess she woke up while I was showering. "Morning, Eddie," I said as I walked into the room. She mumbled, despondently, not even looking in my direction. Taking a moment to think about where I was chronologically. Okay, maybe he did this more. It'd be fair for Eddie to feel on edge from our fight the day before. It seemed that way when I rolled back to April 2nd the last time, at least. Maybe now that I had changed the future, though, she would be in a different frame of mind. Last time, he's actually thinking, she approached me first, but I decided to break the ice myself now. "Hey, sorry about yesterday," I apologized. "I definitely said some things I really shouldn't have. It was pretty immature of me." Eddie took a big bite of her toast, chewed it well, then swallowed before answering me. Her eyes never once left the TV, mind you. "Nah, it's okay," she said. I kinda crossed the line too. "Alright, sorry, cool then? Guess so." Hardly the most emotional heart-to-heart of all time, but we buried the hatchet. I sat on one of the other floor cushions, rested my elbow on a low dining table, and casually changed the subject. "So hey, what would you say if I told you I was going to drop out of school and move back here to Sodashima?" I asked. Emily dropped her piece of toast on her plate, buttered side up, thankfully, then turned to face me. Her eyes were wide with surprise. Wait, you're dropping out?" "I'm like 80% sure, yeah." "It's not because of all that mean stuff I said yesterday, is it?" Her expression turned so grave that I almost chuckled. "No, it's got nothing to do with you, don't worry. My reasons were a lot more self-centered than that. This was the only way I could think of to make it up to Akari. If Akito went back to his old ways after he got out of the hospital, which he very well might, I couldn't risk leaving her alone with him again. I was the one who broke my promise and saved his life. After all, and though I didn't regret my choice, I did still need to take accountability for it. So I would drop out of my high school in Tokyo and stay here with her in Tsushima instead. Having to sacrifice a portion of my educational career was a small price to pay to see her smile again." Hey, Saint Girl, we're doing well. Yes, cozy. Wander's been very murderous throughout this stream. "If you say so," Andy said, honestly still a little concerned. "How we're doing well, Saint Girl, though?" "Well, to answer your question, I think it's safe to say our deadbeat dad will be pissed. But I bet Grandma'd love to have you back here with us. What about you?" I don't know, but having someone else around to clean out the tub so it doesn't have to be me every day might be kind of nice, I guess." Save Haven left. "That's all I am to you, huh? A glorified janitor," I teased. "Hey, it was your job up until 2 years ago." "Right, I guess it was. She'd always get on my case whenever there was so much as a stray hair left in there when she wanted to take a bath. Well, if cleaning the tub's all I've got to do to earn my keep, I guess that doesn't really sound like a bad gig." "You're really serious about this, huh?" "Just about. Did something happen or... it's kind of a long story." I couldn't possibly tell Eddie about any of what I went through this past week. Instead, I stood up to make it clear that the conversation was over. I turned to head back upstairs to my room, which was when Eddie stopped me. Wait, big brother. Is this the first time she said big brother? Wait, Wonder, we're saving it for who? I whirled back around, caught off guard. She'd always called me that back when I lived here, but she hadn't used it once this whole week. Sure, it sounded a bit childish now that she was in junior high, but it felt good to hear. Like she was finally warming up to me again. She stammered. "If you ever need someone to talk to or anything, I'm always here. I'm not trying to be nosy, but I mean, it's not healthy to just bottle things up inside and Her face was earnest as could be as she sat there looking up at me from the floor. What a sweet kid, I thought to myself. Her kind offer raised my spirits a little. Thanks for her offer, but I think this is just one of those things I have to deal with myself. Sorry, I apologized, before turning and walking out of the living room. I crashed down onto my bed. I barely got any sleep at all last night, but I didn't feel particularly tired. Perhaps that hot shower had woken me up a bit. Or maybe I was just too worried about Akari. Yeah, probably the latter. Yo, I'm already getting tired from all this reading. I'm halfway there. Or maybe I was too worried about Akari. Yeah, probably the latter. Every time I remembered how distraught her face looked through the crack in her apartment door, it felt like someone was driving a stake into my heart. I was beginning to feel that I hadn't made the right decision. After all, here I was, struggling with the same dilemma again. Would it be better if I hadn't saved Akito? I let out a deep, heavy sigh of regret. Man, I've got to get my act together. I said, then slapped my cheek with both hands. Yo, what kind of cheeks? I then slapped my cheeks with both hands to snap myself out of this pessimistic spiral. It was far too late for me to be getting cold feet. The damage was already done. And now it was my responsibility to fix so that Akai could be happy. I'm just saying, this sentence, slapping your cheeks with both hands to snap yourself out of a spiral? But I'm saying it could be either cheek. They need to clarify. It's not as obvious as a tear streaming down her cheek. And now it's my responsibility to fix it so that Kari could be happy again. Simple as that. No need to overthink it. I'd prioritize whatever was best for her from now on. There's one way to fix and make Akari happy. How? The calm spring morning came and went like a light rain that was gone before you were aware it had arrived. Next thing I knew, it was mild afternoon. Why did I read mild? I'm actually getting tired. To be fair though, oh god, it looks so bright on stream, but I haven't charged this in a while. So it's really dark, actually. This is not light at all. Oh gosh, it's so dim. Oh, it turned off! No, please! Stay alive. I need you. I'd already tried to check up on Akari, but she still refused to see me. I heard the words "go away" come from behind the door, and after that, there was only silence. I called and texted her as well, but to no avail. I wondered if I might need to take some drastic measures, like camping out in front of her apartment, or trying to force my way inside, but neither seemed like a very good idea. They were more likely to hurt her further, if anything, and extend the healing process unnecessarily. Despite all that, I felt uncomfortable leaving her alone with her thoughts right now. I'm misreading so many things because this red light has dimmed. I'm cooked. Man, what am I supposed to do? I groaned. I looked up at my wall clock. It was 3 p.m. Ideally, I'd like to salvage my relationship with Akari. You know what? Okay, that shadow on the microphone shadow is not helping. Never mind. I was just trying my best. Maybe with a magnifying glass. I actually don't have one. Or maybe I do, but I don't know where it is. I looked up at my wall clock. It was 3 p.m. Ideally, I like to salvage my relationship with Akai somewhat before the next rollback hit in 3 hours. Oh wait, is it confirmed? I assumed that would be the final one. Oh wait, I didn't know there was going to be one more. Did I misread it? As then I'd have filled in the entirety of the 96-hour blank space in my memories. I wondered then if I would be sent back to 6 p.m. on April 6th, when Akari first explained the rollback to me. Oh, shoot. Since that was the furthest point in the timeline I had experienced. On second thought, though, that timeline was also broken now that I'd saved Akito's life, so maybe all bets were off. Maybe there wouldn't be another rollback. Or maybe my consciousness would repeat these same 4 days over and over for the rest of my life. My body never growing older than 17 as I slowly but surely went insane. Now there was a scary thought. What did I cook, Synchro? Myself. After successfully giving myself chills, I figured I'd better not dwell on questions I had no way of answering. It would be 6 o'clock soon enough, and then I'd find out for myself whether I liked it or not. Still, given that I couldn't even guess what might happen, it was all the more important that I talk to Akari while I had the chance. I resolved to try to talk with her one last time, but I would have to be quick about it. Did he really save Akito's life? We'll find out. Right as I shot up in the bed to get going, I felt my phone vibrate next to my pillow. Someone had sent me a text. I picked up the phone and looked down at the screen. It was from Akari. The words she had written, however, made my heart sink all the way into my stomach. A moment later, my words went dry as the desert, and I broke into a full body sweat. My mouth went dry as I tried to call her, hands trembling, but it didn't go through. The robotic voice of her answering machine told me she was either out of range or had her phone turned off. I jumped up and raced down the stairs so fast that it was a miracle I didn't trip and fall, then shot out the front door like a speeding bullet. There was no time to explain the circumstances, so I grabbed Eddie's bike without permission and sped off in the direction of Akari's apartment complex, riding as fast as my legs could take me. I had a very bad feeling about this. If I interpreted her message correctly, then it was vital that I reach her as fast as humanly possible. By the way, my eyes are actually getting tired. I need to turn the light on. Goodbye, Kanai. I love you. That is crazy. Never broke a promise. Oh, Lord. Soju over. How could I be such a stupid, worthless piece of crap? I spent several hours lying around my bedroom, talking a big game about how I was going to make things up to her, while she was already neck-deep and drowning in the worst depression of her entire life. Alone, with me nowhere to be found. Who the hell did I think I was? God, I'm such an idiot. I pedaled so hard that the pedals themselves threatened to come flying off, and the chain screeched metallically as though it might snap. I pressed on even so, spinning my spokes as fast as they'd go all the way to Akai's apartment complex, where I slammed on the brakes and dished the bike in the parking lot. I booked it up the stairs and rang her doorbell. Nothing. I tried twisting the knob and found that the door was unlocked. Akari, you there? I'm coming in. I bounded into the hallway and swung open the first door on the left. Akari wasn't in there. Her bedroom seemed a lot cleaner than I remembered it being last night. All of the textbooks that I had laid out on her desk were now filed neatly away in her bookcase. Wait, what's this? A single folded up sheet of notebook paper lay atop her desk. I grabbed it and opened it up. It was a handwritten letter in which Akai thanked her mother at length for everything she'd done for her. Oh God. Oh, no wonder. There is no signature at the bottom. Only the words, I hope that one day you can forgive me. My gut feeling was all but confirmed at this point. Damn it, no. I set the letter back down, then called out for Akari again as I searched the rest of the apartment. I checked the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom, and even the back deck, but she was nowhere to be found. Clearly she had left the house, but where could she have gone? With a gulp, I finally had no choice but to confront the word I'd been intentionally avoiding this entire time. Suicide. If Akari was going to make a serious suicide attempt, where would she do it? I guess it would depend on the intended method. Drowning was probably the easiest option with the ocean right nearby, but she could just as easily plan to jump from the top of a tall building or step in front of an oncoming train. Or hang herself, though none of these options did much to narrow down her potential whereabouts. Damn it, I've got nothing. She might not even be on an island anymore for all I know. Yeah, Akito. Are you trying to rub it into how much I've been defending that one future or this future? No. There'll be a good ending. I swear. And as you can see, I'm reading much quicker because I am more. I'm excited, or I can't. I'm in suspense. I want to know what happens. I considered whether I should call the authorities. What would I even tell them? That I suspected a friend of mine was about to commit suicide, but I had no idea where or how? Could they do anything at all with that information? I didn't know, but it was worth a shot. I pulled my cell phone out of my pocket and started pushing buttons, all while racking my brain for any potential hints from the past few days I smelled Flacati. I tried to untangle every last knot remaining in my mind. Oh gosh, someone woke up in the house again. Pause. Okay. All of a sudden, I saw something glimmering at the bottom of my mental abyss, like a golden nugget buried deep in the mud. My gut told me this was not a lead to ignore, so I put my cell phone down and tried to home in on it. I closed my eyes and focused my mental energy on dredging up whatever lurked in the depths of my brain. Time seemed to crawl by. And then I heard an echo of Akari's voice. You know, this is my favorite spot in all of Tsushima. My eyes shot open. Could that be where she was? It met the criteria. She could theoretically kill herself there. I didn't have time to think twice. I tore out of the apartment. Dad, please. Am I lagging again? Can't hear his footsteps. Alright. Are we good? Oh wait, I just realized that's my microphone's picking up the microphone or the computer sounds. Hold up. Alright, there we go. My eyes shot open. Could that be where she was? It met the criteria. She could theoretically kill herself there. I didn't have time to think twice. I tore out of the apartment, hauled Ari's bike out up off the pavement, and sped off towards Hiroshima High. I pedaled as fast as I possibly could, huffing and puffing up the hilly streets. I felt sweat drip down from my chin onto the handlebars. When I reached the final ascent leading to campus, 1984 book reading. Hello, Karuhuru, hope you're doing well. And no, I hate 1984. Yeah, that's alright. I shoved it into low gear and tried to power my way up. But then there was a loud thunk, and the pedals started spinning with zero resistance, as the bike lost all traction. Unable to maintain my balance, I fell down hard on the asphalt. Youch. I went in pain as I looked over at the fallen bicycle. The chain had snapped. Screw it, I'll run the rest of the way. I started hoofing it up the hill, ditching the bike where it had fallen. My throat hurt bad enough that I worried it split open and my heart was beating so loud that I could hear it booming in my eardrums. But I hadn't the time nor the right to slow down. I'd happily endure any bodily harm, permanent or otherwise, if it meant the difference between Akari committing suicide or not. At long last, I made it to Hiroshima High. The gates were open, but I didn't see anyone out on the athletic field. As for whether there was anyone on the roof, it was impossible to tell from down here. I made a beeline across the track and let myself inside through the main entrance. I knew that if any faculty members were to spot me, I'd be thrown out, but there was no time to try to play it cool and blend in. I dashed up the stairs, praying internally that my hunch was correct. Sure enough, when I reached the uppermost landing, I found the padlock from my door lying discarded on the ground, along with the two flattened out hairpins. My hunch was now a certainty. She was here. I swung open the door and stepped out onto the rooftop. A strong wind attempted to blow me over, and I had to squint my eyes from the glare of the setting sun. Then I saw it. A figure stood beyond the protective fence, spanning the perimeter of the roof, and was leaning out over the edge. The person wore a Tsushima High uniform, its skirt blowing the wind. It was her. I'd made it in the nick of time, but it was way too early to breathe a sigh of relief. Her hands were gripping the metal railing behind her for now, but she looked as though she might let go and jump at any moment. I didn't want to frighten or provoke her in any way, so I called out her name in a calm and measured voice. Akari. She whirled around. She looked genuinely surprised to see me. Kanai-kun? But how do you know I'd be here? I took a moment to catch my breath before answering. Let me say your future self gave me a hint. You're kidding. Nope. It's your favorite spot on the whole island, right? You even made a point of bringing me up here to show me one night. When was this? Let's see. It was the night of the 4th, so 2 days from now, I guess. Akari furrowed her brow and cast a forlorn glance to the side. Wish I could have gotten to experience that future, she said. Oh, it's so sad. I got chills. The heartache in her voice stabbed me like a knife through the chest. I swallowed hard, then asked the question I'd come here to ask. Akari, you're not planning to kill yourself, are you? I am. Is it my fault? My fault? She gave a slight smile, and neither confirmed nor denied my assumption. I'm tired, Kanai. Tired of everything, she said, her voice measured and slow. I mean, I worked so hard to try to get into the same college as you each and every day. I pushed myself harder than the last. I stayed up every night, staying until I literally can't keep my eyes open any longer. I swim laps until I'm so exhausted. I throw up. I keep working the same job even though my supervisors make me cry pretty much every day. It's like I've been living in hell, Kanai. On top of everything else, my brother's been harassing me and treating me like a slave. The one time I tried to stand up for myself, he pushed me down and fractured a bone in my lower back so I couldn't swim. And when he stole all of the money I'd been saving up for so long, I thought my life was over for good. There was no way I could ever recover from that, but even then, I still didn't want to die. Because you came back to me. Because when I called you in my time of need, you came running to my rescue, and because even when I made the most selfish request imaginable, you still heard me out. But in the end, you broke that promise and chose my brother over me. The pain in Akai's voice was palpable, but I had no reply for her. All I could do was stand there, clenching my fist until she finished speaking. Then finally, I offered a few words in response. You're not wrong, I said, choosing my words very carefully. I did break my promise to you, and I did save Akito against your will, but that doesn't mean I chose him over you, or that I did it specifically to slight you or anything like that. I don't hate you, Akari. Hell, if anything, You want to know what hurt more than anything, though? She interrupted. Though I sure didn't feel like an interruption from her perspective. I was certain she wasn't even listening to me anymore. It wasn't having my money stolen, or you breaking your promise or anything like that. Then what was it, I asked? Akari hung her head as though trying to hold something back. It was the realization of what a horrible person I really am deep down. I mean, I deliberately chose to stand by and do nothing while my brother was dying, only to turn straight around, go home, and cuddle up in bed with the boy I like. If that doesn't make me a psychopath, I don't know what does. Akari, you're not a psychopath. Yes, I am, she replied, her voice shaky. You made the right choice, Kanai-kun. I can't hold that against you. It's me who's crazy, which is why I should just kill myself and spare everyone else the misery of having to live with me. She looked up at me again, her eyes now bore an unmistakable glimmer of desperation. Akari, I cried, putting one foot forward to run to her side. Self-timed. Don't come any closer, she snapped, and I froze in place. Tell me one last thing, Kanai-kun. Why did you do it? Why did you change your mind and betray me? Oh gosh, I'm getting tired. Let's getting hype. Okay, that's messed up. Calling this moment hype is kinda sick. Alright. I paused. My mouth went dry. It is kind of... Go ahead, you're sick too. And cold sweat dripped down my forehead. I knew if I made the slightest misstep with my words, Akari was at a real risk of taking her own life. I wet my parched tongue with fresh saliva and then proceeded to say my piece. I mean, I do that too, but you don't have to describe it though. Because your future self asked me to. She explicitly told me to save Akito. She even told me where he'd die and when. I can't see you ever doing that unless you came to regret your decision for real. If it's not, yeah, we still don't know. And trust me, you're not the only one, Akari. I was all in on letting him die for a while there, before I remembered what you told me in the future. I thought in way more depth about the long-term repercussions from all of this. Only after that did I rethink and decide I needed to save Akito's life after all. Yeah, Mofu, keep munching. I'll let you eat this time, Mofu. Akai didn't say a word. She stood and silently listened quietly as I continued. A minute ago, you called yourself a horrible person, a psychopath. I disagree. You've got a good heart, Akari, a better heart than anyone I know. That's why I knew you'd come to regret it sooner or later. The fact that you let your brother die would eat away at you for the rest of your life. Even after you got married and had kids and lived happily ever after with whatever lucky guy got the pleasure, it would always be there. Lurking in a dark corner of your mind, I didn't want that for you. You can earn back lost money and people's trust, but you can never take back a life. I didn't want this to forever cast a shadow over your future. What future? Akari scoffed, her face contorting in distress. Quit preaching to me like you're my dad. All you're doing is throwing together a bunch of empty reassurances and speculation to convince me not to jump. You're only trying to stop me from dying so you won't feel guilty. It's not speculation, I shot back. Akari, I was there. You literally came to regret it in less than a week. Oh yeah, where's your proof? Show me one piece of evidence to support your little theory that I'm not rotten to the core. My words caught in my throat. Obviously, I had no way of proving something that happened in a now severed timeline. Recognizing this, Akai's expression turned cold, as if she'd given me up her last hope that I could prove her wrong. See? Nothing but empty words. Heck, I bet you don't even fully believe the stuff that's coming out of your mouth. Like, can you honestly say with 100% certainty that you did the right thing? She had me totally figured out. I didn't know what to believe. I had waffled back and forth ever since that last night. Was it really right for me to save Akito? Was I really acting in Akai's best interest or pouring salt in her wounds for no reason? Had her future self truly came to regret what happened, or did I only save Akito's life because it would make me feel better? The more I pondered, the deeper I was consumed by my own misgivings and regrets. I couldn't see anything clearly anymore. I knew, though, deep down, what I had to do. I needed to believe in the path I'd chosen without letting my doubts dissuade me. There was no turning back now. You're right, I admitted. There are a lot of things I'm not sure about, but one thing I can say for sure is that you aren't supposed to die here, Akari. If you step back from that ledge right now, I'll do anything you ask of me. I'll drop out of high school and move back to Sotoshima. I'll find a way to make back the money Akito stole from you. I'll do everything in my power to make sure you never have to go through anything like this again. Please don't end it all here. I need you, Akari. Oh, give it a rest already. You're trying to talk me down and you know it. More promises. Wonder, please. You were so hopeful a while ago. What changed? Her words were harsh and cold, and I had no angle to counter them from. So deep was Akai's despair that she'd basically made up her mind by now, and nothing I could say would convince her otherwise. She was determined to jump. The impact from a fall from this height would kill her. I could only stand here and watch, helpless as my best friend took her own life. Such was my punishment for breaking my promise to her. No, screw that. I wasn't giving up yet. I came here prepared to put it all on the line in order to save Akari. Now I need to put my money where my mouth was. Slowly, steadily, I approached Akari. It was my time to make my final gambit. Stop, she yelled. If you come any closer, go ahead. I'll be right behind you. Huh? He's doing the... There's no way. He's trying to one-up her. That's crazy. I hopped over the railing to join Akari out on the ledge, standing immediately to her right. Akari looked at me with suspicious eyes that told me she was prepared to jump the moment I tried anything fishy. I was careful not to make any sudden movements that might alarm her while making it clear I had no intentions of backing down. I want to make a comparison with spoilers? Ooh. My toes were already sticking out over the edge. One step forward would send me plummeting to my death. A glance down was enough to give me vertigo. It sent a rush of adrenaline and fear through my entire body. My palms were already sweating against the cold metal railing. You know, when it comes down to it, I began, gazing up at the deep magenta sky. This is really all my fault. I mean, this whole thing could have been avoided if I kind of told you about Akito's death or the rollback. Then you wouldn't have been complicit either, whether I chose to save him or not. You could have stayed blissfully unaware. What are you trying to say? Nothing. Just that I need to be held accountable for all the pain and suffering you're going through right now, and that I can only atone for it by finding a way to make things right again. If you die right now, I'll be forced to live with that guilt forever. So you'd kill yourself too? So you'd rather kill yourself too? You got it. A strong wind blew past, sending my bangs aflutter. The smell of sea salt wafted into my nostrils. My footing wavered a little bit. I gripped the railing even tighter. You're a real jackass, you know that, she scoffed. It might have been the first time she insulted me and actually meant it. Believe me, I'm aware. This past week has made it abundantly clear what a worthless piece of crap I truly am. Are you using scare tactics on me or something? FYI, I really am going to jump right now. Whether or not you do too won't change a thing. That's fine. What I'm saying is, if I can't convince you otherwise, I'd rather join you and end it all myself. Just checking, Kanai-kun. Do you seriously think that threatening to commit suicide is a good way to talk someone else out of committing suicide? Probably not, like you said. I'm a stupid jackass. I'm afraid that's the best I could come up with. They're spitting, what the heck? Akari was staring daggers at me right now. You expect me to believe you're gonna jump for real? Oh, I am. Make no mistake. Stop bluffing. I see her knees quaking. She is a good way to sign. I can't comment because I wouldn't know. I don't know. I mean, if it does work. She had me there. I was literally shaking my boots. I hope she would have noticed. No, that's because my legs are tired from riding my bike all the way up that big hill. Oh, is that why? How come your voice is shaky too? I mean, it's chilly out here. You felt that breeze that just blew by. Then explain the sweating. Wait, why is it turned to a comedy? People sweat when they're hot, Akari. It's called homeostasis. You said you were cold. Okay, fine. I yelled at the top of my lungs. You got me. This bozo. He's such a bozo. You caught me. Caught. I'm scared out of my goddamn mind. Happy now? I couldn't deny it. The thought of actually taking that next step and falling to my death scared the hell out of me. Sure, it may be a relatively painless, instantaneous death, but the thought of my blood and guts splattered all across the asphalt filled me with nausea, and imagining how the world might move on without me made me want to cry. The thought of my own death terrified me. Wasn't that only natural? Thing is, there's something I'm even more afraid of, I continued, readjusting my grip on the railing. And that's the thought of losing you, Akari. That's what really scares me, far more than my own death ever could. I know full well I couldn't bear to go on living in a world without you. I'm not strong enough for that. I took a brief pause after this mild self-rebuke. You know, I never told you this, Akari, but the real reason I'm back here in Soishin right now is because I ran away from home. My dad caught me skipping out on my spring break supplementary courses and gave me a scolding of a lifetime. Said he wished he never brought me back to Tokyo to begin with. So I left, and yeah, I know that probably sounds like small potatoes compared to all the agony and suffering you're going through, but I think it just goes to show what a weak little coward I am. I mean, if I was willing to run away from home over something as trivial as that, what makes you think I wouldn't want to run away from life itself after losing you? Even if you took my blame out of the question, I don't think I could cope with that. What's your point? We'll always hang out with Akito after she dies. What? No point. I'm explaining how serious I am about this. If you die here, then I die too. Simple as that. I wasn't bluffing. That was where my head was at right then. If I could place complete and total confidence in anything, it was the ability to run away when the going got tough. My voice is getting tired from reading all this. I had to be upfront about that with Akari, regardless of how hard she was treading water in her own pain and suffering. It was my only method of conveying to her that this wasn't an act. There's only like 25 pages left, I think, if I remember. If you want me to live so badly, then why not drag me away by force? I mean, would that really do anything to change your mind? Nope. I go do it the next time you took your eyes off of me. That's what I thought. She truly did have her mind made up. What option did I have now? How could I make Akari want to keep on living? I tried with all my might to wring one last idea out of my frazzled brain, but still came up empty. We were at an impasse. Worse, as I thought on it more deeply, dying began to seem like the right answer to our conundrum. Somehow convincing her to live wouldn't magically put an end to all of her struggles. Plenty of hardships lay in her future. Heck, from a general perspective, there was far more to be sad about in the world than to be happy about. And our backward society tended to reward evil more rarely than good. Like we learned back in junior high, trying to stand up for your morals only put a target on your back. Life wasn't fair. Akari knew that far better than I ever could. The will to live exited my body in one abrupt swoop. I turned to face her. So we're really doing this, huh? Yep, I am at least, she responded in no time, her eyes steady and assured. There's one idea. What was that knife for? Okay then. I grab Akai's right hand. Hey, what the? I'm not stopping you. If we're gonna go, then I want us to go together. Dang. Her palm was cold and drenched with sweat. I'm serious about this, she reiterated. Yeah, I know. You really don't have any regrets? I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't, I admitted after mulling it over a little. But all I ever wanted was to grow old and die with you. So one out of the two is good enough for me. Okay, that's Cap. I mean, maybe that's not Cap now, but he was so oblivious before. I see, she said, then interlocked her cold, dainty fingers with mine. Guess we're on the same page then, because I'm not afraid of dying either, as long as I'm with you. Oh god, they're bluffing. I mean, I don't know if they're bluffing, but they're trying to one-up each other so much. I'm terrified. I don't like this. I'm scared. I didn't say a word. I nodded at Akari and Akari nodded back at me, as though we both made our peace and were ready to kiss the world goodbye. Okay, she said. Here goes nothing. Ready when you are. I exhaled all of the air from my lungs with deliberate slowness. The strong wind blowing by felt pleasantly bracing, like it was cleansing my entire body. I took in a deep breath through my nose and I could smell the ocean, along with the slightest hint of plum blossoms. All told, I was as afraid to die as ever. Somewhere deep inside, I felt a certain contrasting calm. I attributed it to holding Akai's hand in mine. With her by my side, I could look my fears in the eye undaunted. I wish I had the chance to use this newfound courage for something other than ending it all. But no matter. Everything would be over soon. Knowing I wouldn't have to worry about the future any longer was strangely comforting in its way. Feeling about as close to content as I could get, I closed my eyes and waited. I waited for quite some time. Nothing happened. Akai's little hand remained firmly clasped within my own. I opened my eyes and turned to my side only to find her hang her head with her shoulders trembling. Akari? A sound came into focus at last, sobbing. Akari was crying and I didn't even realize. It's not fair, she whimpered through the ears. Why do you have to do this to me, Kanai-kun? How am I supposed to die when you say stuff like that? I can't do it. I can't. Pog, she lost the game of chicken, so true. I nearly fell to my knees right then and there. The words, I can't do it, washed over my entire body like a wave of relief. All the tension built up inside me started to subside and my legs went limp. Oh, thank goodness Akari chose to live. I was happy enough to burst into tears myself. Come on, let's go back inside the railings, I suggested. Akari complied, throwing her leg over the railing as she wept. Once both of her feet were back on the solid ground, I turned and hoisted myself up onto the railing as well. Wait. A powerful gust of wind picked up at this exact moment and knocked me off balance. Uh-oh. I desperately clutched for purchase at everything in reach. But my hands were too slippery with sweat. My body tottered backwards and my stomach dropped. I'm gonna fall. It all seemed to happen in slow motion. The railing receded before me while the skies above expanded before my eyes with a tremendous whoosh. My body bent further back, sealing in the realization that I was about to die as it did so. Strangely enough, I didn't feel a lick of fear. Maybe it was because I mentally prepared myself to die a moment ago, or maybe I felt satisfied after achieving my goal of saving Akai's life. Either way, all I felt in that instant was that if the universe decided to kill me off here, then so be it. I did what I came here to do, so fate was welcome to take my stupid life. As I came to terms with my fate, however, Kanai-kun, Akai reached out and grabbed me by the hand. The sense of weightlessness vanished altogether as she gripped my right arm with both hands. She held me far more firmly, far more imperatively than she had when she stopped me on our way to the bar last night. She hauled me back over to the safety on the other side of the fence. Oh, whereupon she and I both fell to the ground. Me directly on top of her in accidental aggressor position. Her face now mere inches from mine. I saw my reflection in her wide open eyes. Now, here, the belated fear of death hit me like a truck. Had Akai not grabbed my hand when she did, I would have been gone forever. I shuddered at the thought, and my legs got weak enough that I couldn't lift myself off the ground. Please, I can't take this anymore. There's only 20 more pages. What's gonna happen? Oh, holy hell, Akari, you just saved my... Before I had a chance to thank her, she wrapped her arms around me from below and pulled me in close. No, this book was gonna be this heavy. No, the first book was so much more chill. The first book was just a bozo going inside a cave and having flashbacks for like 30 years. Oh, like the darkest theme in the first book was bullying. Bullying is a pretty serious theme, but like not like bullying didn't lead to anything like worse, I guess. Oh, thank God! I was so scared you were gonna fall. She sniffled between sobs, her breath hot against my ear. Like, I didn't know physical abuse was going to be a thing in this. I mean, I kind of got the idea when, it was leading... When we're thinking of ideas and leading towards to, like, why would she kill Akito? And, like, kind of a bit of foreshadowing, but... Oh, I thought this was just going to be chill. Thank God was right. We were both still here. Still breathing after one near suicide and one near fatal accident. As far as I was concerned, that was nothing short of a miracle. How could I not be ecstatic about that? Hey, Kanai-kun, she whispered in my ear. Remember what you said to me earlier? About how you'll never break another promise to me again? Do you really mean that? 100%. I'll never betray your trust again. Okay then. So here's this one little thing I want you to promise me. Akari pulled away from me. We both sat up straight, facing each other directly. I lowered my gaze from her tear-drenched eyes to her trembling lips. They shaped sound together to form the little words. Make me a happy woman, okay? Oh, you bet I will, I said, then wrapped her up tightly in my embrace. Akari hugged me right back, and we both sat there in each other's arm, while the faded melody of green sleeves rang out over the island. It was already 6 o'clock. I braced for the worst, but even after the chime was over, no rollback occurred. Pause. Time was back in its proper order, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I was living in the present again. The future awaiting Akai and I was a total enigma, but one that she and I would face together, hand in hand. I knew that was the last one. I knew there wasn't going to be any rollbacks. Nothing happened. Honestly, I would have laughed if it did happen. And he's like, you know what? And we went back in time again. And he would be like, you know what? Let's have Akito die. That's honestly what I kind of expected when he brought up the rollback might happen again. Yeah. If we went back into the future instead, that would have been really weird. I don't know how they would be able to wrap that up nicely in 20 pages. It was now April 3rd, the day where Akari's suicide attempt at Soeshima High. On that bright and sunny afternoon, I made my way down to Soeshima Harbor. The warm sunbeams upon my face heralded the beginning of spring. I thought we went back to the future? Yeah, but... yeah. He did mention that too. Yeah, if that happened, I wonder how they would wrap the book up. The warm sunbeams, promising that winter's lingering specter would soon disappear from the last few shady pockets that lent it sanctuary. In truth, this was the second April 3rd of my 17th year on Earth. This time, I intended to take it slower than the last. Nothing happened at 6 p.m. last night, leading me to believe that the rollback was over. It was confusing for the next few days. While I never gained a proper understanding of its mechanics or what triggered it, the 6 p.m. thing was a rigid rule throughout the phenomenon. I felt safe in assuming that the phenomenon had truly ended. And they could unite with each other? Oh yeah. Doofus MZ. Like just right then and there on the rooftop. He just... I don't know. I don't know what happens. I don't want to think about the time travel thing. It's too high IQ for me. That wasn't guaranteed that I was free from his clutches altogether. I knew that. Still, I figured it wasn't healthy to live in constant fear of otherworldly time hiccups. I would cross that next bridge if and when I came to it. It wasn't like I could do much to prevent it, so why stress myself out? In the meantime, I soon arrived at the harbor and made my way to the ticket office. Inside, I found Akari sitting on one of the benches, wearing a knit sweater. Wow, you're here early, I called out as I approached. She turned to look up at me. Yeah, sorry, I felt antsy all morning, she said, fidgeting with her fingers down near her belly button. A fragment of darkness endured in her expression, but I sensed none of the instability from when we were up on the rooftop yesterday. Well, don't push yourself, I said. If it gets to be too much for you, we can always quit and go home. I think I'll be okay, especially since you're coming with me. And I'll have to face him sooner or later. Akito will change. Mark my words. Akai's voice was tense, with either fear or trepidation. Or perhaps a combination of the two. We were on our way to visit Akito at the hospital he was staying at over on the mainland. It was Akai's idea. She called me up this morning and said that it was something she couldn't avoid forever if she wanted to go on living. I thought that was a mature way of looking at it and agreed to go as her escort. Admittedly, I had my reservations about this meeting between a victim and her abuser, but they were siblings. It wasn't like they could realistically go the rest of their lives without talking to one another. Oh yes, they could. At least not until Akai graduated from high school. Some amount of reconciliation was necessary, I assumed. Wait, reconciliation. Don't worry, I reassured her. I'm gonna call that a cop-out. If they avoid that kill, it would. So I'm glad that they are. Instead of just like, just having lovey-dovey moments between the two and ending it on that. If he tries anything funny, I'll put a stop to it. Yeah, okay, thanks, she said. A little of the tension left her shoulders. I checked the big clock inside the waiting area. The ferry was supposed to arrive at any minute, so I got in line at the ticket window. After paying for our fare, I walked back over to where Akari was sitting. Our boat arrived a short while later, so we stepped aboard and embarked on our little voyage to the mainland. Voyage. It's voyage, right? Shoot. Because there's bon voyage. But that's like a loan word. And it's voyage. I used to pronounce it voyage all the time. Until Fades hit me with the book. We left the ferry boat and got on the bus, and thanks, Wonder, and that took us all the way to the hospital. After checking in at the front desk, they gave us Akito's room number. We went up the stairs, down the hallway, and around the corner before eventually arriving at the hospital room. Bonvoyage French is what? As we stood in front of the door, I looked over at Akari out of the corner of my eye. She looked pale and was biting her lip with a frown. Her hands shook slightly. When she noticed my gaze, however, she turned toward me with a forced smile. Sorry, I guess I'm more nervous than I realized. You still want to do this? I mean, we're here now. I can't turn back. Okay then. I took her hand and held it tight. Akari recoiled in momentary surprise and gave my hand a brief squeeze in reciprocation. She took a deep breath, knocked lightly on the door, and then opened it without waiting for a reply. It was a shared hospital room with multiple occupants, so she must not have felt the need. Akito's bed was on the right-hand side, over by the window. Still holding hands, we walked in and made our way across the room to the privacy curtains partitioning his bed away from the rest of the patients. Hey, that's your sister, Akai said. We're coming in. No reply came, but someone was clearly in there. Akai slid the curtains aside and walked in, and I followed suit. Sure enough, Akito laid there in his bed, wide awake. He had an IV drip hooked up to his arm. I didn't say he could come in, Akito scoffed, glaring at Akari. He noticed me enter right after her, and his eyes widened a little in mild surprise. Hey, you're Funami, right? He asked. That's me, I heard. Heard from my old lady that it was you who found me and called the ambulance. I really owe you one, man. Nah, that's cool. Don't worry about me. That's her you should be thinking about. I signaled Akai with my eye. She took a deep breath. Akito, we need to talk, she said. Yeah, about what? He replied. His voice instantly turned hostile. If this goes bad, if Akito's... Yo, it's actually gonna make me angry. Especially what just happened. About what you did 2 days ago. No, what you've been doing for the past couple of years. All of the harassment, all the late night partying, all the grunt work you've made me do, all the money you've stolen, it all needs to stop. I don't want to catch you doing any of that again, she declared. Akito was visibly uncomfortable, but Akari persisted. If this goes bad, wait, no, murder's not the answer. I've already told Kanai-kun about everything you've done to me too. What, are you guys going study now? Explains why you're holding hands. The hospital ain't the place to be flaunting your relationship status, guys, he snorted. Derisively. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. The image of Akito I'd fought to maintain in my mind, my concept of him as a stand-up guy, a hard-working pitcher, crumbled to dust once and for all. Hasn't changed? Dude, there's 50 more pages, Wonder. I knew damn well that there was no way he'd forgotten all the horrible things he'd done to Akari. And yet here he hadn't only shrugged it off, but made wise cracks at her expense. My blood began to boil. I let go of Akai's hand, walked up to Akito's bedside, and looked around at him from above. Man, you've turned into a real douchebag, I said. What the hell happened to you? Beg your pardon, Akito said, his face flaring up with rage. You heard me, you're a douchebag. All this crap you've done to her little sister and you can't muster up one little apology? Do you seriously feel entitled to act like a complete asshole because you lost your shot at being a star athlete? You trying to say something, pal? Yes, yeah, I am. Actually, listen up. Try to mess with Akari again and it won't end well for you, pal. I'll come running with a big old rock and chuck it right at your head, just like how you taught me to deal with bullies. No, you listen, dickhead. I didn't think you know who you're dealing with. Akito's eyes flashed with anger. He sat up and made a grab for my collar, but whether due to alcohol poisoning or the fact that I hadn't been an athlete in years, his grip was weak. I shook him off no problem, causing him to lose his balance and fall out of his hospital bed. Urgh, he grunted as he hit the floor. His IV tube fell out and a trail of blood began to trickle down his arm. I had no intentions of trying to kick a hospital patient while he was down, so I reached out a hand to help him. He slapped it away. He's so pathetic. I feel bad, actually. I mean, I don't, but I do. I don't know. Don't touch me, he barked. He's still on his hands and knees, his nails scratching on the floor. You and everyone else are always looking for excuses to talk down to me. Ever since I had to quit baseball, it's like I'm one big disappointment. It's bullcrap. It's not fair. God damn it. He lifted his head and looked at me in distress. His expression was full of hate, and yet I found something strangely pitiable about it. Do you have any idea what it's like, he demanded, to have the one thing you've dedicated your whole life to ripped out from under your feet, do you? Nope, can't say I do. But there's more to life than baseball, man. Not every single person you meet is going to judge you based on how good of a pitcher you are. I reached out my hand again, but ignored it and sat up without assistance. You gotta learn about Goob from Meet the... Wait, there's someone named Goob? Oh, I shouldn't shame someone's name, but Goob? Yo, he's one space away from the keyboard. Oh, you did? Shoot, I don't remember. I heard a woman's voice at the door announcing her arrival. Her arrival. It was a voice I thought I recognized. They all hated it. Shoot, I don't remember, but oh no. My hunch was confirmed as soon as she slid the privacy curtain. Hey, sorry that took so long. I had to wait, huh? Sure enough, it was Hayase, holding 2 cans of coffee precariously in her right hand. She must have been here to visit him even before we arrived. Hi, Goob. Dude, I'm sorry, the name Goob is messing me up. Oh, Akito, are you okay? Do you fall out of bed? She set the coffee cans down on the bed and squatted down to help Akito up, looping his arm around her shoulders. Knock it off, he growled. No, don't be like that. You're still recovering. It's fine, she said, helping him back up on the bed before turning to look at us. Hey, Akai-chan, good to see you. Who's your friend here? Ouch, I winced. Forgotten already. Then I realized that she and I actually hadn't met yet in this newly revised timeline. Duh. Right as I was about to introduce myself, Hayase gave a short, high-pitched shriek. At least he didn't say it this time. Akito, you're bleeding. Damn, we need to call a nurse. Ah, save, it's not even a big deal, Akito said in an attempt to downplay it. Oh no, you don't, Buster. We gotta get that looked at pronto, she said. She pressed the nurse call button next to his pillow while giving him a disapproving look. I swear, you've always been like this, stubborn about the dumbest of things. This is why everyone ends up distancing themselves from you sooner or later. So what? Who cares? I care. You learn to take good advice when it's given to you, for crying out loud. Open up a bit more. Why don't you? You're only making things harder for yourself by shutting folks out. What do you think it would have happened if you weren't lucky enough to be found by someone the other night? Did that even cross your mind? Suddenly, there were tears in her eyes. Akito got a bit flustered. Is Michael Yagubian? Yagubian is crazy though. Hey, bro. Suddenly there were tears in her eyes. Akito got a little bit. Psh, come on, it's not that big. I mean, look at me. I'm fine, aren't I? You could have died, Akito, yelled Hayase. Akito shrank back. His eyes wavered uncomfortably for a moment, unsure what to do, but eventually he threw up his hands and scratched his head. Alright, I'm sorry. Sheesh. It was almost too quiet to hear, but he had apologized. We stood in shocked silence around his bed for quite some time, until the nurse we'd called showed up to ask Akito how he was feeling. He mumbled a few begrudging answers at first, before Hayase smacked him on the back and told him to explain in greater detail. Incredibly, this was all it took for him to start being more cooperative. I was standing there watching their little back and forth when I felt Akari gently poke my sides with her index fingers. I don't know how I feel about this. Yeah, good night, bro. I don't know how I feel about this. This development. Hayase's too good for him, but it's not, I shouldn't feel like I should wish the worst for him, you know? This should be good. Okay, whatever. Life is good too for him. Too good for him? Life is too good for you, or so sick. We should get going. She says, it's a good idea, I agreed. At least he will be in safe hands with Hayase, I thought to myself. Akari and I briefly said our goodbyes to the two of them before we excused ourselves from the hospital room. I'm just making sure there's... Oh wait, never mind, there's only 7 more pages. And then the afterword. I thought it was 65, not 60. Okay, wait. I need to get some water, because I ran out of water, and my voice is crying. Alright, I'm back. Whew. This is a weird development, actually. I got better. Oh no. What is it? Everybody would tell you to let it go and move on, but don't. Instead, let it fester boil inside of you. Take these feels and lock them away. Let fewer actions. Let hate for your ally. You become a wonderfully horrid. Why is someone called Goob so hateful? No, that's crazy. I like Sasuke type dude. Holy moly! Check it out that short. Uh-huh. Is that Akito? Because they're never less worse. Goob is who says something like that is less worse than Akito? That's wild. The boat ride back to Tsushima was practically empty. I chalked it up to the fact that it was in the middle of the workday. You would probably count the number of other passengers on one hand. Akari and I sat side by side right in the middle of the seating area. Thanks again, Kanai-kun, she said at one point with zero lead-in. For what, I asked. For coming with me to the hospital, silly, and for staying up to my brother. Oh, yeah, don't mention it. Shame I didn't manage to wring an apology out of him. The main objective of the day was to draw a line in the sand after all, and I wasn't confident we'd accomplish that goal. Well, it made me happy, that's for sure. I never could have done that on my own, she said. The corners of her mouth twitched upwards. It was only the slightest hint of a smile, but I'd take it. Seeing her happy again was enough of a reward for me on its own. Feel free to let me know if he gives you any more trouble. Luckily for you, I'll just be down the streets from now on. Wait, huh? She said, staring blankly at me. You mean you're not going back to Tokyo? Nope. I'm dropping out so I can stay right here with you in Tsushima. Didn't I already tell you this up on the roof, the other night? Her eyes widened in astonishment. I totally thought you were just bluffing about that to talk me down. Hell no. I wouldn't lie in a dicey situation like that. Have you already filed your withdrawal paperwork? Nah, not yet. I figured I can call the school and take care of it over the phone. I knew it wouldn't be quite an easy way as that in practice. I expected some firm resistance not only from my father but from my teachers as well. Still, I was fully prepared to fight for my right to withdraw myself from school. Forget it then. You don't have to drop out, Kai said. Huh? I gawped, knowing thoroughly off kilter. Of all the people I expected to face opposition from, Akai was among them. I mean, that only makes things harder for you in the long run, right? Like, what would you even do after moving back here? Probably enroll at Tsushima High, I guess? And after graduating from there? I haven't really thought that far, to be honest. You're already on the fast track into a great college, Kanai-kun. You shouldn't waste that opportunity, I mean. Don't get me wrong, I really appreciate that sentiment, but I feel horrible if you were to give up all that on my account. Wait, how's this book gonna end? There's only like 5 pages. Arg. On second thought, she had a point. Maybe dropping out of high school would be too drastic. I had reservations about the idea myself, of course, but Akai's doubt made me wonder if I should just scrap it entirely. Some part of me did feel like a bit of a coward for skulking off back to Tokyo by myself after talking a big game up on the rooftop the other night, though. How in the world was I supposed to make up for that? While I sat there stressing myself out about it, Akari gave a soft, simple smile. Hey, Estelle. Dang, you really came after the intense parts? It's alright, Kanai-kun, she said. You sit tight and wait for me in Tokyo, okay? I'll come join you as soon as I graduate. But what about... Hope we're doing well, though. I'll be fine. If anything bad does happen, you'll be the first to know. I promise, she said. Then reached out and held my hand like a parent trying to reassure an anxious child. This conversation flipping around to concern for my emotional needs didn't make me feel like a pathetic loser. Nakati was right, though. I may not have thought my little plan through as well as I should have. There was only 1 year left until we both graduated. Man, now his sister's gonna be sad about this. If we could make it through this next year apart, she and I could be together again. Oh, pause? even if it was after too much time separated. That thought alone gave me the strength to squeeze Akai's hand back. Okay, I said. Still, try to stay in touch with me even if everything's going well, yeah? I'll be sure to call you from time to time too. Yeah, it is a broken promise. Of course. Don't overdo it either. It doesn't matter if your school stuff doesn't work out. You can come and live with me anyway, you know. I know. Akari nodded bashfully. You close finish the book? I'm like, it's like 4 more pages. And then it's the afterword. Yeah, 61. So maybe more like, yeah, 5 more pages. 5, 6 more pages. And my voice is so tired. I now felt with the implication of the words that had come out of my mouth. I might as well have proposed to her. But I didn't feel embarrassed at all. And not only because this was my second time dropping that exact line on her, but because it wasn't even an exaggeration. And fuck talkers. I really did see the two of us sharing our lives together in the long run. Okay, you can't say that when you've only been an item for like 1 day. To be honest, the build up to that confession was crazy. Y'all really talk about each one in the basic? Yeah. I mean, not yeah. But good. Okay, you know what? Whatever, yeah. I'm actually surprised we're actually finishing this in like 3 hours. I read so fast during the climax of it. He confessed. Wait, be quiet. Oh, no, please. I read so fast during that part. Oh my lord. Kyrie said yeah. I don't know why I said yeah. Don't worry about it. Well, guess I better start saving up money again if I ever want to make it over there, she mumbled half-heartedly. Oh, you don't have to worry about the financial aspect of it. I've got it covered. What? No. I couldn't possibly borrow that kind of money from you, can I? I wasn't offering to lend it to you. You gotta earn it yourself. It'll be a piece of cake, I promise. What are you talking about? Akari asked, tilting her head in curiosity. Well, I said nonchalantly. Ever played the lottery before? Wait, he did remember the winning lottery, right? I mean, it wasn't that much, I think, but he did. He was memorizing those numbers that one time. That's unethical? Wonder. Are you saying you wouldn't do it if you came back from the future? What the heck, Estelle? What do you mean, my bozo? I'm a bozo? The next year came and went. I woke from my peaceful slumber to a sound of sprightly footsteps bounding across hardwood flooring in the other room. I creaked my eyes open and gazed up at the white ceiling above me. It was neither my grandmother's house in Tsushima nor my father's condominium. This was our new apartment, right in the heart of Tokyo. Picking myself up out of bed, I left the bedroom and headed out into the living room. Over in the kitchen, a slender figure with shoulder-length chestnut hair darted back and forth, clad in a comfy cardigan. It was Akari, age 18. It wasn't until she stopped in front of the stove to drizzle oil in the frying pan that she noticed my presence and turned to face me with a welcoming smile. God, imagine based on a true story. There's no shot. He went back in time. But if it's like inspired, then that's a ooh. Stop being happy, Stomofu. No being happy aloud. Well, look at you, sleepyhead. Woke up all by yourself for once, huh? Yeah, yes I did. Can't keep using you as my alarm clock forever. I walked into the kitchen and offered my assistance in getting breakfast ready. I set the table with chopsticks, tea, and a small bowl of rice for each of us. A little while later, she came out to join me on a carpet with 2 sunny-side-up eggs on a small tray. Give going Kushi? No. We sat across from each other and set out our modest little breakfast. Maybe after I finish reading if we're still here. No, I should sleep after. I'm so tired. Upon our modest little dining table, we clapped our hands together in unison, picked up our respective pairs of chopsticks and dug in. 2 weeks had passed since Akai and I started living together. As I leisurely ate my breakfast, I thought back on everything that had happened over the past year since the end of the rollback phenomenon. There was a lot to say, but the single biggest event had to be Akari winning the lottery. Even if it wasn't due to luck in the slightest, I had memorized those winning numbers I looked up during the rollback and told her what they would be. At first, she was pretty opposed to the idea, comparing it to cheating, but I bent over backwards to assure her that we weren't doing anything illegal, that we probably deserved some amount of restitution after everything we've been through, and that at least this was the money. This way, the money would be going to a good cause and wouldn't be frittered away on needless luxuries. I managed to convince her in the end, and she begrudgingly went out and bought the lottery ticket. With that, all of our financial needs would be taken care of for the foreseeable future. It was that much. I'm gonna get copy for what? This is just like the first book. It's not fair. It should have been me. The first book, completely BS. This is also BS. It's not fair. I don't know if I want to spoil the first book though. At first, as far as schooling went, Akari got accepted into the university on nothing but her own merits. She worked her butt off and won the district preliminaries last summer, then went on to make an admirable showing at nationals, and secured the requirements for an athletic endorsement. She cleared the required application process with flying colors and was admitted to her dream school of priority status. I can still remember the emotional phone call she gave me when she first heard the news. Now, a few months later, she and I were finally reunited in Tokyo and had been cohabitating. Hey, get up, have lunch, and work. Get out, though. It had been smooth sailing so far. We were way more compatible than I ever would have ever thought. Almost freakishly so. What do you mean by freakishly so? Phew, that hit the spot. Thanks, I said, finishing my meal and carrying my dishes over to the sink. When I returned to the living room, Akari had set her chopsticks down and was staring fixedly down at her phone. What's up? Something happened? Yeah, my mom just texted me. Get a little of this, Akari said, holding her phone out in front of my face. On a small LCD screen was a picture of Akito and Hayase smiling in each other's arms, beneath which hung the captions, "Guess who's getting hitched?" Oh my god. Well, damn, now there's a shocker, I said, although I wasn't especially surprised. Akari told me Hayase took a renewed interest in getting Akito back on his feet. After the whole alcohol poisoning incident, I can fix him type beat. From what little I'd heard, I wouldn't go as far as to say he turned over a completely new leaf, but it sounded like his behavior has made a marked change for the better. Hayase was answer all. She is too good for this guy, but also, I mean, it's a good outcome. It's just not fair. Oh, you know what, Ichira, I welcome you. You can't stunlock me anymore. We were 2 pages away from finishing the book. I swear it's gonna take us 1 hour to finish these last 2 pages because you're here now. I won't go so far as to say eternal glory. Sound like blah, blah, blah. He now had a full-time job at Hayase's family liquor store and was working to slowly pay back the 1,000,000 yen he stole from Akari. okay, finally. I'm half joking. I know, right? Akari replied. Talk about hitting the ground running, jeez. Unless you're leaving because you realize you can't stunlock me anymore. I just hit the swiper, no swiping on you. Yeah, those shoes sure didn't waste any time. They've been together for what, a year? If that, I've gotta say though, there's something else that surprises me more, she said, looking at me in the eye as though she had just had some huge epiphany. See, if I'm honest with myself, I still haven't really forgiven my brother for everything he did to me, right? But when I read this text just now, there was one where, for a split second, I felt genuinely happy for him, from the bottom of my heart. From where I was sitting, Akari looked a little confused, as though she wasn't sure how to interpret these unfamiliar emotions. Oh, my voice is so cooked. How could she feel happy for the same man who'd once abused her? who she hated so much that she nearly condemned him to death. I thought this was a poignant testament to just how much she'd grown. I guess you have to say for... No, I'm not. Hey, good for you. Go ahead and be happy for him. Nothing wrong with that. I think that's pretty mature on your part, actually. I'm proud of you. I flashed a broad, wholesome grin over at Akadi, who smiled right back at me, with the sort of reinvigorated smile of a person who just overcome impossible odds. Akadi and I worked together to clean up after breakfast, then got ourselves ready for school and stepped out of our apartment. It was a nice, warm day without a cloud in the sky. We made our way down to the nearest bus stop and got on board. About 20 minutes later, the bus dropped us off right outside the main entrance of the U of I. As I stepped off the bus, a single cherry blossom petal fluttered past me, flitting right in front of my nose. I turned my head and tried to follow it with my eyes, but it was soon picked up by the breeze and sent careening upwards into the sky where I lost track of it. Come on, Kanai-kun, let's go, Akadi beckoned me, reaching out her hand. Right. Sorry, I'm coming. With Akadi's hand in mind, we took our first step onto campus together. The brick road leading in wasn't particularly wide, lined on either side by rows of magnificent cherry blossom trees. Magnificent cherry blossom trees, I looked up to a beautiful soft pink canopy. An endless shower of petals came fluttering down to the ground like powdery snow. I read in a brochure that this footpath, which ran from the main entrance up to the Central University building, I'm so tired, was affectionately dubbed the Tunnel of Cherry Blossoms by the students and teaching staff. They were long past full bloom by now, but it was still a gorgeous sight to behold. Akadi came to a stop without warning, wondering why I turned to face her, and her gaze met mine. There were tears in her eyes and a warm, natural, complete, and uninhibited smile spread across her face. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing. I'm just really happy right now, you know? I felt her hand grow warmer in my own. Yeah? Well, just you wait, I declared, because the best is yet to come. Akadi nodded enthusiastically. And we set off once more, walking hand in hand toward the rest of our lives. With heads held high, we trained our eyes firmly on tomorrow, never once looking back.